June 28, 2025. A date that would be remembered for generations, though no one could have predicted what was to come. The world woke to a silence so deep it pressed against the chest. A silence that felt almost unnatural, as if the very air was holding its breath. No birds greeted the dawn. The familiar chorus of chirps and songs was gone, replaced by a heavy, echoing quiet. City parks were still, the countryside eerily empty. Not a single squirrel darted across the grass, nor did a rabbit rustle in the hedges. Not a bark, not a buzz, not a single animal sound remained. Even the hum of insects, so easily ignored before, was now painfully absent. People searched for pets, calling out names into the void. Farmers found empty barns, their livestock vanished. Even the smallest creatures, flies, crickets, mice, were gone, as if erased overnight. Overnight, every animal on Earth had vanished. Forests, savannas, and beaches stood untouched, their usual inhabitants missing without a trace. Oceans became empty cathedrals of coral, African plains just seas of grass, the Amazon a silent green expanse. The world's wild places, once alive with movement, now felt frozen in time. News showed empty zoos and abandoned farms. The places built for animals now stood as hollow reminders of what was lost. Scientists were baffled. No one knew how or why. Theories spread, but answers were nowhere to be found. Humanity was left with only questions and a growing sense of dread. Humanity was alone, the last species left. For the first time, we faced a world that belonged only to us. In that silence, we realized how much we'd lost, and how much we'd always depended on the vibrant, noisy animal kingdom. The absence was more than just quiet. It was a loss of connection, of wonder, of life itself. The world was beautiful, but hollow. Every landscape, no matter how stunning, felt incomplete. And for the first time, we truly felt the weight of absence, a silence that echoed louder than any sound we'd ever known. The web of life unraveled instantly. In a matter of hours, the intricate relationships that had evolved over millennia simply vanished. The forests, once alive with the sounds of birds and the rustle of mammals, fell eerily silent. Without grazers to keep them in check, grasslands exploded with unchecked growth, transforming into tangled thickets. This dense vegetation became perfect fuel for wildfires, which now raged uncontrollably across the landscape, consuming everything in their path. With both predators and prey gone, the delicate balance that kept entire ecosystems stable was shattered. No animal calls echoed through the savannas or forests, just a haunting emptiness. The nutrient cycle collapsed. With no animals dying, there were no bodies to decompose, and scavengers, nature's cleanup crew, disappeared. The forest floor became a graveyard of undisturbed remains and rotting plant matter. The soil's living network, worms, beetles, and microbes, was gone, leaving Earth sterile and compacted. Without these tiny engineers, the ground hardened, unable to absorb water or support new life. Dead leaves and plant matter piled up, suffocating new growth. Young plants struggled to break through the thick, suffocating blanket, and forests began to wither from the ground up. Water, once absorbed by rich soil and roots, now ran off hardened ground, causing severe erosion and worsening drought. Rivers dried up, and hillsides washed away in heavy rains. In the oceans, the loss of zooplankton destroyed the marine food web. Fish, whales, and seabirds starved, and the once vibrant seas became empty and lifeless. Algal blooms choked the seas, blocking sunlight and suffocating coral reefs. The oceans stagnated, turning murky and toxic, unable to support life. The planet's recycling system had stopped. Plant debris piled up everywhere, and the natural processes that once renewed the land and sea ground to a halt. Life's connections, built over millions of years, were severed in a single night. The silence was overwhelming, a world stripped of its heartbeat. The world was no longer self-sustaining. Every ecosystem, from the deepest forest to the open ocean, began to unravel. Nature's balance was lost, and collapse had begun. The planet, once teeming with life, now faced a future of silence and decay. The silence spread to our farms, settling over the land like a heavy, invisible blanket. The familiar hum of life was gone, replaced by an eerie stillness that seemed to stretch on forever. Pollinators, bees, butterflies, bats were gone, and with them, the hope of fruit and seed. Blossoms opened in vain, their colors bright but their purpose lost, as the air remained empty of wings and movement. Orchards bloomed for the last time, but no fruit followed. The promise of harvest faded, leaving only petals drifting to the ground unfulfilled. Crops like berries, melons, and coffee failed completely. Fields that once overflowed with abundance now stood barren, their plants withering without hope of renewal. The world's diet shrank, color and variety disappeared. Supermarket shelves grew dull and repetitive, and the vibrant markets of the past became memories. Desperate, people tried to pollinate by hand, but it was slow, costly, and futile. Human hands could never match the tireless work of millions of insects, and the scale of the task was overwhelming. Food prices soared, and only the rich could afford the few hand-pollinated fruits. For most, these luxuries became distant dreams, out of reach for ordinary families. Most people lost access to vital nutrients. Meals grew smaller and less nourishing, and the health of entire communities began to decline. Even livestock feed crops failed, making animal agriculture impossible to revive. Without pollinated plants, there was nothing left to sustain the animals we once relied on. Our entire food system, built on the backs of insects, was crumbling. The infrastructure of farming, once the backbone of civilization, now stood abandoned and decaying. The silent fields showed just how much we owed to the smallest creatures. Their absence left a void that nothing else could fill, a stark reminder of nature's delicate balance. Soil is more than dirt. It's a living world. Without animals, the underground ecosystem died. No worms to aerate, no insects to decompose, no droppings to fertilize. Plants drew out the last nutrients, but nothing was returned. Soil became hard and lifeless, water ran off, and erosion scarred the land. Forests and crops weakened, yields dropped and droughts worsened. Even wind-pollinated crops struggled as the earth lost its ability to support life. The lesson was clear. Healthy plants need healthy animals. Without the hidden workers below, the land itself began to fail. The world's green mantle faded, and the cycle of life ground to a halt. We learned too late that soil and animals are inseparable. The food system collapsed. Meat, fish, eggs, and dairy vanished overnight, leaving a massive nutritional gap. Fruits, vegetables, and nuts became rare luxuries. Most people survived on grains and a few root vegetables. Malnutrition spread, food prices soared, and rationing failed. Riots and hoarding broke out. Cities emptied as people fled to the countryside. Nations hoarded grain, borders closed, and conflicts erupted over farmland. Civilization unraveled, not from war, but from hunger. The disappearance of animals led directly to the collapse of human society. The loss reached into science and medicine. Countless medicines came from animal compounds. Now that living library was gone. Animal research, essential for understanding disease and testing treatments, ended overnight. Medical progress stalled. New cures and vaccines became nearly impossible. Biologists and ecologists lost their subjects, and engineers lost nature's inspiration. Biomimicry, once a source of innovation, became obsolete. Without animals, we lost our best teachers and models. If new threats emerged, we were unprepared and blind. Our scientific knowledge, once built on nature's diversity, was suddenly shallow and incomplete. We realized how much our progress depended on the animal world. The deepest loss was spiritual. Animals had been our companions, symbols, and muses for millennia. Their absence left our stories, art, and language hollow. Children grew up never knowing the joy of a pet or the wonder of wildlife. Myths and metaphors lost their meaning. Galleries became memorials to a vanished world. The next generation would know animals only as legends, not living beings. The world felt smaller, lonelier, and less magical. In losing animals, we lost a part of ourselves, our kin, our inspiration, our joy. Their presence had enriched us in ways we never understood. Now, humanity wandered a silent, empty world, haunted by the memory of life's lost chorus.